What is blockchain? Why should people care? What's fundamental about this in 3 minutes?
I think human beings are a network species. We operate in groups. We always work in groups. We're like ants or bees in the sense that we have to cooperate to do anything interesting. And that's kind of how we conquered the world. But we are a unique species in that we cooperate across genetic boundaries. Everyone in this group is pretty much unrelated to each other, yet we're brought here by common cause and interest. And we're the only species that can do that. And so we build these networks, and these networks in history have to be governed because networks have rules, they have cheaters, they have people contributing resources, and you just have to figure out how to organize them. And historically, the way we've organized these networks is we create a country and we put a king or a president or a ruler in charge, or we have an elite or an aristocracy in charge, or we'll have a priest in charge, or we'll put a corporation in charge, or we'll have a democracy where it's one person, one vote. So these are kind of the ways that we have organized networks throughout human history. And invariably, whoever's at the center of the network just ends up very powerful. Kings become tyrants, elites become aristocracies, corporations become monopolies, democracies turn into mob rule sometimes. So you have to worry about who's in charge of these networks that run our lives. And these networks are very important. Electricity is a network, phone system is a network, the United States is a network, money is a network, your favorite religion is a network. So it's very important who runs these networks. And the last few hundred years, we've created a new way to organize these networks. And those are marketplaces. And whether it's credit markets, debt markets, stock markets, currency markets, markets are a way to organize a network with no single ruler in between. You have a market mechanism doing the pricing and the allocation. And what blockchains are is they're a way to bring this network, this market-based networks into all digital systems, or into many kinds of digital systems. Bitcoin is the most famous one, but there we say, hey, money is too important to be controlled by any one central entity. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to organize it through a blockchain-based network, and we're going to use mathematics and rules to make sure that even though nobody is in charge, nobody can cheat. No one can spend the same money twice. No one can steal the money that already exists. Or Ethereum is a network for running trustless smart contracts, financial contracts, or distributed applications. And we're going to make sure nobody can cheat, even though there's nobody in charge of this network, and we're going to use a market-based mechanism to do it. But unlike a stock market or a market for tomatoes, we're not paying with cash, we're paying with resources. So anybody can enter this network, they can contribute a scarce resource. In Bitcoin, that might be hash power to secure the network. In Filecoin, that might be computing and storage to provide more storage resources for people who want to use the network, like a new Amazon Web Services. You could have a self-organizing network on a blockchain that controls electricity. Like today we have PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric here, controls who gets electricity. But you could create a solar network where everybody puts a solar grid on their house, solar panel on their house, and they pay into the network with solar power. They get paid back out with solar coin, and nobody's actually in charge, and you still make sure nobody cheats. You could do the same with a network that's allocating bandwidth, so we don't need Verizon to do our cell phones. We could all do it collectively. You could even do a social network that's run this way, so you don't have a single king like Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey being dragged in front of Congress for hearings as to how they're running the network today. So really what's happening is the internet is moving from this idea. The internet was originally supposed to be a democratizing force. It was supposed to be, everything's going to be equal and even. We're all going to have websites and nobody's going to be in charge. But now meet your new overlords, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon. These are the people really in charge. So what blockchains do is they give us a system for taking networks that normally would have been run by individuals or kings or corporations, and instead making sure that they're leaderless. And that, to me, is what's really exciting about them. I didn't really describe how they worked, but that's kind of more at a meta level. And what's interesting is we're starting with the single hardest thing, which is money. Bitcoin is trying to replace gold or maybe even money at some point. And if you can do that, then you can replace any network ruler. If you can run the network for money without a single entity in charge, when everyone's trying to break it and everyone's trying to steal from it, then in theory, you could make any network decentralized. And that's what I think is interesting about blockchains.
Yeah, that's great. Let me take somewhat orthogonal cut on it, maybe complementary. So let's say that you wanted to have a database of all the money in the world. Well, your first requirement for that database would be that some random person can't just update it and award themselves lots of money. Right? Everyone would try to do that. So that database has to first be highly tamper resistant, second, very auditable, and third, it needs to be, in a sense, decentralized so that no one actor can just go and award themselves $1 million, right? And when you start enumerating the technical requirements to build something like that, you get something like the blockchain that underpins Bitcoin. And what a cryptocurrency is it's the native money on a database like that. And so once you've got a database that can represent all the money in the world in a tamper-resistant way, such that no one party can hoard themselves lots of money, well, you can represent other things, not just money, but stocks and bonds and mortgages, loans, derivatives, other kinds of things. Everything from the things that have an analog in Wall Street today, like stocks and bonds, to things that don't, like video game potions or maybe a contract for hard drive space on someone else's computer, things that we wouldn't think to trade on Wall Street. So once you can solve that problem of representing digital scarcity in a way that people can't corrupt it and award themselves a lot of money, you can solve a lot of other problems of coordination and representation of financial instruments.
So I'm curious to learn more about what got you both into cryptocurrency space in the first place, because you both have had long storied careers before cryptocurrency. So Naval, you, among other things, you democratized angel investing with AngelList, and Balaji, you started a biotech company, Council, which sold for almost $400 million. So how do you explain your interest in blockchain as it relates to the arc of your career?
My first company, Council, was doing genome sequencing in the biotech space and testing for Mendelian diseases. And as part of that, I encountered a lot of regulations, and I started to realize, wow, a lot of these rules that were written